Voltron Network.
What's up, guys, and welcome to the DC vs. Marvel podcast, where we talk about the latest DC and Marvel movie news. My name is Uz, and I'm your regular DC fanboy. And once again, in the red corner, representing Marvel Comics, is my boy Eds. How you doing, bruv?
I'm doing all right, man. Trying to be optimistic. Trying to hope that I'll live long enough and the world will exist long enough to see the grandkids.
Exactly. See the grandkids. Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know. It's a bad thing to say, but I'm kind of thinking more about, am I going to be able to see the Batman next week?
That
that
is actually priorities. That's true.
But yeah, that's what it is, man. But yeah, guys, a lot of kind of mad stuff going on in the world there at the moment. So hopefully we can give you guys a little bit of a respite from having to think about that kind of stuff there by going into the mad world of DC and Marvel Comics, man. So we've got quite a bit of news to talk about there this week, including Obi-Wan, the Batman first reactions, a lot of DC stuff, guys. Batgirl. It's always like that, right? It's always like that. Do you know why? I'll tell you what, right? Do you know the state of comic book websites, news websites, and stuff like that is so bad, right? That basically, like, when I kind of look for Marvel stories, I kind of think, okay, let me go and have a look. Let's see what Marvel are cooking up or whatever, and it would just be like, oh, Brie Larson's working out. It's like, okay, that's not news, man. I need some like proper news, or like or just, and they just keep posting like ridiculous kind of things like that there, basically,
Just
which nobody really gives a shit about.
Filling the dead air. Because I guess with Marvel, the way they work, they blitzkrieg the world with news right as something's about to come out. But in between projects, they're good at keeping a little. As long as it's not Sony in charge of it, then everything's out there.
Yeah, yeah. If it's Sony, then yeah, everybody's gonna know about basically everything pretty much. But yeah, I mean that's the thing, man. Just difficult to kind of find news, and then you end up finding stuff about just things that there's so many like of these websites like Comic Book Movie and Comic Book Resources and comicbook.com and superhero news and all that, and all they literally show is the stuff about there's a new Resident Evil film or something, and it's like, that's fine, but what's that got to do with comic book movies and stuff like that? So they've obviously got so little kind of things to talk about there all the time, because they've got to put like 10-12 stories out every single day that they just rehash, like random thing. Even a big news story now is like, say, Samuel Jackson looks amazing in new fan art of Nick Fury.
Yes, the amount of times. Look at how Boss Logic thinks the new Flash poster will look like. What the fuck? Come on, man.
That's not news, man. That is not news. So yeah, I mean, it's very difficult trying to sift through all of that crap, and then trying to find stuff. But that's why we're here, so you don't have to go and look at all those kind of things, man.
The crap, so you don't have to.
Exactly. So guys, let's start off with some Star Wars news, and we've got some information about the Obi-Wan series, basically, which it's coming very, very soon, but apparently we don't have a trailer or anything like that there. We've got a teaser, of course, with Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor and stuff like that, but we haven't really got kind of anything else. But we have now got some information about what the show is going to be about, and basically the show is about Obi-Wan, but the thing that is always a little bit concerning is, do they base it particularly on one person, given what's happened with Boba Fett? And basically there's a Jedi called Nabi, who basically has come to find Obi-Wan, because Obi-Wan, after Order 66, they're just trying to find out and see if there's any other Jedi left and stuff like that, and then finds out that basically when when she comes to find Obi-Wan, that actually Obi-Wan is on another mission, which is basically looking out for Luke, as it were, and her presence is going to disrupt a lot of that. So it looks like it's going to be a similar kind of thing, like we're going to have, like we had Boba Fett and Fennec, that it's not just going to be Obi-Wan on his own kind of thing. It's going to be with somebody else.
I think that seems to be their formula, because technically even the Mandalorian is a team up with little Grogu. So would you want to see a show that didn't focus necessarily on Jedi, but instead, or good people, but more on like a Sith? Like something that took place during Order 66 that we actually follow a bounty hunter or someone working for the Empire, hunting down each episode, hunting down a different Jedi.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. It will be like in the game. What was that game called? Force Unleashed, I think it's called. Force Unleashed. And basically pretty much most of that is you are Darth Vader's apprentice going, and you basically go and the whole thing is like the big boss at the end of every single level is a Jedi, basically, apart from right at the end where it's Darth Vader and the Emperor. But yeah, I mean that I would definitely love to see something like that, because I'd like to see like the thought process behind it there as well. Right, because I could honestly think about something like, I mean, I could just pick out of the air, literally, just like something like, somebody who has Force powers and then has their child taken away from them and taken to the Jedi Temple to be trained up as a Jedi, and basically the kind of attachment that you end up having to your child, and your child's taken away, turns you to the dark side and is like, right, I'm gonna make these bastards pay for taking all these kids into the,
This is a rotating theme, because someone actually pointed something out to me and did like a whole little speech on it, that even when you think of like Peter Pan, that is a similar thing where you think Peter's a good guy and Captain Hook's the bad guy, but think of what goes down. Peter flies around Victorian London, seducing kids with pixie dust and taking them away to this mysterious place, and Hook's the only human who's trying to stop him, and he only goes after Peter, not all the other Lost Boys, straight to Peter because he's the kidnapper. And it's we've been thinking of this all wrong, people. The whole thing's backwards.
Yeah, it could be the alternate history of like just all this stuff, you know what I mean? However, that's never gonna happen in a million years, because basically, like George Lucas, when he based the Jedi on it, it was meant to be like on kind of like a play on words of like the like Jewish monks, basically. That was his kind of his thought process there on it. And it was like because there's a group of Jewish monk order which is called the Jedi, Jeedi, and his kind of like thing was based on, I think it's Geedai actually, and his whole thing was like there's warrior monk class basically that he's gonna do. So they're not gonna end up portraying that as like a bad thing, considering all of the years that we've had of Star Wars, of like they're being good and stuff. However, credit to George Lucas, he did put it himself in episode 3 and stuff, but with because they keep releasing these things of like there was this scene in there and there was this scene that was removed, and that kind of stuff. And one of the scenes is basically about like Anakin like having an argument against like the fact that people were being indoctrinated like into this, and they should be able to go their own path and stuff like that, and why they're not allowed to go their own path and things like that. So that's an interesting thing, I think, considering what nowadays is, I guess, like everybody's thinking they're individuals and stuff like that. Then maybe it's a way to go. But it's just like a lot of things in Star Wars never seem to go anywhere, So like you've got that, you've got that broom kid from
Oh my
what's it called,
God,
Jedi. Remember
yeah.
that broom kid, and it's like there's no chance of him ever like going anywhere or achieving anything or anything like that. But I think still the best way of going about it is the idea that you were saying there before, of literally just having like a like the Japanese kind of thing, or
Yeah.
just them focusing on certain tribes and different ways of doing things. I think it would be good to see like, okay, well, this tribe is Jedi, but they've got a different thought process of Jedi compared to this
Different
other group of
philosophy.
Jedi.
Yeah.
But the thing that really would like to see would be the original ones, which is basically like where the Jedi actually go to the Sith planet and then basically like turn evil and like enslave the population and all that kind of stuff there from the original kind of archives. And that's where the Sith actually come from, in effect, is
Yeah.
basically like because they've been oppressed by the Jedi. That would be an amazing
One
storyline.
day, man. One day.
one day, yeah, maybe 100 years time they may have something like that. One thing I want to ask you is, are you interested in seeing another series that revolves around a desert planet?
No. 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 I got burnt out on just seeing desert, desert, desert all the time, without the enough variation. That's why it felt so good when we had that Mandalorian episode where he was on that ring Halo planet, Halo thing. I don't know what the hell it was, like satellite city. Yeah, that it just felt, oh, breath of fresh air. Just even though it was just all industrial, I was like, oh thank God, it's just not all brown dust. Yeah,
Yeah, I think they need to visit way more different locations and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Just kind of, just to, yeah, just
and
to
have
just to kind of freshen it up there a bit.
and have a planet that's like how planets are. Like Earth.
Yeah.
It has
Yeah,
deserts and it has forests and it has frozen bits. It's not just all one thing. Whereas in Star Wars, it's just all one thing all the time. It's a frozen planet, or it's a desert planet, or it's a city planet. Come on, man, mix it up a bit.
yeah, exactly. I mean, City Planet, just actually thinking about it would just, oh my God, it would be the worst place to live
Horrible.
in. It would be horrendous to
No
live, man.
trees.
Like literally every single part of it is a city. Oh my God, it'll be horrendous. But it'll be crazy to see and that's where the cyberpunk people could end up, I guess. So yeah, Obi-Wan, still looking forward to it, but
Definitely.
from what they're writing about the desert stuff, I don't know. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how we go. Um, so the first reviews for the Batman have come, and interestingly, they're actually not like first reactions from people. I mean, these reviewers are people, but they're not. You know what I mean, right? Like, so usually you see like, John from Telford, or Mary from Connecticut or something says like, oh, this film was a blast or whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, are you a bot or something? But actually, like, we've got actual news outlets
Critics.
who are saying.
Yeah.
Now, a quick caveat to that is this was actually published on the MTV Europe page, and it did say underneath paid advertisement from Warner Brothers
Oh, damn.
underneath.
At
So
least
I
they're
have to
honest.
give, yeah, exactly. So you have to give that a caveat that basically that was on Instagram as that. However, a lot of seem to be overwhelmingly positive, pretty much. Even though some of these are literally just like one word one word reviews.
I think because the embargo at the time when those reactions came out, the embargo was still on, so all they could give is just a broad, I liked it, it was good or not. So they couldn't really get
Yeah,
into deals. But yeah, it seems it's good. It's a good with these reactions alongside our oracle's breakdown of what they saw. It gets me more excited, which I don't want to be. I don't want to go into this really excited. I want to be just tempered and just joyful, whatever it's going to be, and not be
yeah,
disappointed.
exactly. There's so many times I see like the little TV spots and things come up in like my suggested videos and stuff. I'm like, should I watch that? Should I watch that? And I'm like, no, don't do it. Don't be tempted to watch every single thing. So yeah, it has to be good, because I've actually already I've actually already got booked for like 2 watches in like 1 weekend. So it better be good, including the fact that one of them is like a 2.5-hour train ride. So it actually better be one of my friends, basically, who he's in the same profession as me, basically, like I went to go and see The Dark Knight Rises with him and his brother, right? And we really like just enjoyed ourselves. Like, we're all comic book fans, stuff like that. I mean, he's more of a Marvel guy, but I'll let that fly anyway.
I like him already.
But basically, like I was like, yeah, when when there's another Batman film, then I'll come up and we'll see another one, right? Because I really hate taking the train. I just can't stand it. But when BVS came, something came up, so I couldn't go there. And then obviously when this came, I was like, okay, dude, I'm gonna come up, right? And then see it there with you. So we've got a group of like 10 of us who are all gonna go and see it, and then chat about it and stuff there afterwards.
Still 2.5 hours. I got friends that live 30 minutes on the train away, which I haven't seen in like 3 years because I just can't be asked. It's too much.
That's a friend, isn't it? Really? that is a I say the same thing to Salim all the time. He's like, oh mate, when you down my way, I'm like, you do know it's like a 2.5-hour drive from my house, right? So it's like so so it's like, when you ever down my side, which is basically like met with silence after that. Twice in 2 days, so it better be decent, otherwise it's gonna be pretty damn horrendous, man. So but I mean, some of the things are actually like the only one that I would actually look at from this, I'm just looking at the thing here, is Empire. And I actually do think Empire is a decent quality magazine, so I they're the only ones out of all of these that I would actually say, is all right. Total Film is one of these ones that basically that magazine kind of came out after Empire, and it was like I remember I used to always buy Empires whenever I was taking the train to uni and stuff like that. But Total Film, when it first came out, I was like, what is this? It was like one of those things that you buy when Empire's not there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, or it had a cool cover, which wasn't helpful. But yeah, I get what you're saying. But what did Empire say? Have you got it?
Empire just said gripping. That was it. And Total Film said sensational. So yeah, that's the thing, man. So it's we'll see. We'll give you guys a review there next week. The thing is, that's the thing. The question is, when are you going to see it?
I've been playing fast and loose with it, just like I did with Spider-Man. I'll just see it randomly. I'll just decide to turn up on the day.
Because I'm just thinking whether to do it early, because obviously because I'm going again on Sunday, so obviously then that will be by the time I get back, it's gonna be like midnight or something. So whether it's whether it's a good idea to do it that day or do it another day, we'll see. We'll see whether we get an earlier review for you guys. Keeping with DC there for the Mo, Superman and Lois, which has been on a hiatus. We now got back there again, and this for me was a bit of a strange episode, because it's like it's a second bait and switch going on, right? But also at the same time, like, you could switch this episode on halfway through and think, am I watching Dawson's Creek, right? And then like,
that is the problem with the kid stuff. It's going exactly how I predicted as well. Exactly how we figured it was gonna go.
It's like okay, I understand, this guy having an affair there.
Oh, we're talking about the yeah. That's I thought we were talking about
having an affair and stuff.
Yeah,
it's pretty bad.
Where did that come from? Why did that suddenly a thing now?
Yeah, exactly. I understand that's bad, but I don't really
Yeah,
care. I
he
want to see,
already
like,
effed up in the first season by having like drinking problems, and now he was on the straight and narrow, and then they got possessed by Kryptonians, and now he's back on the straight and narrow again. And
yeah.
now he has to have enough. Like, come on, man,
He's basically just like they're portraying him as just like a
the dumbest.
perpetual,
Yeah,
perpetual like fuck up. He just keeps getting stuff wrong like every single
jeez.
time. Like he just keeps getting stuff wrong and never ever, never ever resolves the problem. So yeah, I mean with him, there was that storyline, and obviously like a was it his daughter's 18th birthday or something, or I don't know
Thinking
what it
you're
was.
it's like a South America, I think Mexican or South American thing, or Central American. I always say, I know people get offended when I refer to Mexico or South America. It's not, it's Central America still, but yeah, it's like a little tradition when you become of age, like a bar mitzvah for Jewish people.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I mean basically there was that, they had that party going on and stuff, and that for me I was kind of like, okay, yeah, maybe it's advancing the story, but I don't really care a great deal. But the interesting thing was right at the start um we saw one of the characters who was the kind of head of a cult basically, and we kind of saw her origin story, which is that for some reason she has basically handed down this amulet, and basically like, you know, she's told by her father like, you know, don't take it, it's always causing trouble in the family,
It was an
but she
uncle.
decides, is it the uncle?
I think it was an uncle. I think her mum's. I could have been wrong. Yeah, keep going. It doesn't really matter anyway.
But yes, it's basically told like, don't, you know, don't take the amulet, it always causes problems.
Yeah.
And then obviously then as we get into the future, we end up seeing like that she basically has control of the amulet. So this amulet basically gives you powers to go to different dimensions, and you know, uh, be able to encounter your other self. For some reason that makes you free. I didn't quite
Yeah.
really
Why
understand
that?
what that meant,
Why
right?
that a cult can be built around that just because? Yeah, it's weird.
I was gonna ask you about if you understood more than
Well, I don't
what
understand
I
why
did.
this older guy, who either maybe a dad or an uncle, doesn't have the power just to drag her out in there and say no, she ain't taking it. Like, isn't he the guardian? Like, why does she get to make that decision that he thinks will destroy her and, you know, the family going forward, if it's
Yeah,
cost the lives of so many past relatives? Like,
a magical amulet given to a child that means that you can go through to a different dimension.
oh
I mean,
man,
it's just absolute madness, man.
has
So
this ever been the origin for Bizarro, that he's from a different parallel universe rather than being a created?
so they do have Bizarro World, and they did have Superman going to Bizarro World, right? And basically they had this whole do you remember in Sandman, I think it was Sandman Act 2, when they talked about this whole thing about um it wasn't Superman. It was kind of like they were making it sound like Superman, and they went to some weird world that was kind of like Bizarro world, basically. It was towards the end when they were talking about um, or basically all of them going, and there was this kind of little girl who's like controlling, like you know, the
Oh, it's like a fantasy world. Yeah, because there were like little
yeah.
animals and like a kingdom and all of that stuff. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And she was talking about basically Bizarro World, right? Because there's one guy called Miam whatever, and I was thinking, okay, you're DC. Why don't you just say it's Bizarro, right? I don't get it. But anyway, yeah, there was a whole thing about Bizarro World and about Superman, their Superman kind of thing going in there. And there is a comic book about Superman going into Bizarro World. So I guess this is kind of the same kind of thing,
Mm.
but that was more like a comedy book. It was like basically like just seeing like how, like, you know, messed up Bizarro World actually is, and then they, you know, come and fight like these fantastical monsters who are the opposite of things in our world. And I guess they're doing a play on that kind of thing.
What's the actual
Um,
origin of Bizarro though? Is that because I always thought he was just like a genetic
he's a
screw up?
clone, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So so they basically made multiple clones,
Mm.
and they basically made Bizarro, who was a clone of Superman,
Yeah, yeah,
but was and by Lex Luthor in effect,
yeah.
which is why at the start I kind of thought, okay, if they're gonna do Bizarro, like the person, the woman is talking to on the phone is Lex Luthor, but it's not Lex Luthor. It's this other rando cult leader, and basically like they, Lex Luthor creates this clone, and the whole point is for the clone to, in effect, go and do the stuff that Superman can do. And then Lex Luthor becomes the hero, but actually he finds out that the clone doesn't really follow orders properly and is actually like a messed up character. The best version of Bizarro is actually in Red Hood and the Outlaws, where it's him, Artemis, and Bizarro basically join up as a team, and it's like it's kind of cool and stuff. So yeah, I mean, in this it looks like obviously Bizarro is in effect a multiversal Superman from Bizarro world, as opposed to a clone of Superman. And so, I guess probably
does everyone on this universe have like all scratches and crap,
Sharpies on the face,
drawn on their face? Is that what we're supposed to get from this? Because why else does he look like that?
Exactly. Yeah, because that's the whole point. Like, if he's a clone, he's like stitched together basically, and his skin is falling apart because it's in effect Frankenstein's monster, right? That's basically what it's meant to be. So this kind of thing was a little bit odd, but I kind of know the reason why they're going for that, because we saw the pictures of Jonathan Kent as Superboy, right? Right. But that Superboy is Connor Kent, which is the he wears that outfit and stuff that he's basically got on, which is the red jeans and the spikes on the on the jacket and stuff. And that Connor Kent is the clone that basically is created by Lex Luthor, which is a clone has Lex Luthor DNA and Superman DNA in it. So I guess because they're introducing Jonathan Kent as, in effect, Connor Kent, they're thinking, okay, let's
how's that going to work? Does his powers completely kick in then without the drugs, or is he just going to be completely juicing this whole time and just tricking them all that he's got powers?
We saw his eyes were kind of like a bit blacked out and stuff like that. I think he's gonna be drugged up to the next level, man. It's like, because he's really kind of trying to make it look like,
he's just
and this is the thing that makes me laugh. So they had this training montage kind of scene or whatever, right? And it was quite funny because we've previously seen the brother who does have the powers on the American football field throwing people around. This dude can barely do 50 press ups.
I don't get that. He lift beams and like he was doing crazy shit in season 1. So now he's just punching the rice bag like he's just a regular kid. Like, what's going on?
Yeah. And you can barely do 50 press ups. It's like, mate, what the hell's wrong with you? Come on,
it's a different showrunner or something. Like, where's the consistency here? Where I can get the different writers, but come on, man.
Was this the one that was written by Pink Ranger? I don't know. Was this the one?
I don't know. Is she writing as well? I thought she was just doing.
No, I think directing. I think she's just directing. So
but it's the writers, though, man. They're the ones that will put this stuff in.
Yeah, the writers. The one thing that does give me hope is basically Tyler Hoechlin saying that when he the way that he thinks of this show is basically of Superman being its own entity and not being associated with all the stuff that has come from the past. When they had the Crisis event, which is all joined together with a different kind of Flash and Green Arrow and all that kind of stuff, he in effect basically took that as a reset. So now, like, the whole Superman thing is basically as it was to kind of start off with, and independent of Supergirl and Arrow and Flash and all that kind of stuff.
I was getting that sense with the way he was reacting to like the Kryptonian spirits in season 1. Like, it's like, oh my god, I thought I was alone. It's like, what? Hold on, you were just hanging out with Supergirl a couple of years earlier. Like, okay, resetting everything.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, man. So yeah, I just it's the other thing was Bizarro started speaking normally. That was because he was in the fortress, right? In the Fortress of Solitude. So it basically translated him into kind of being normal or whatever. You know, speaking in a forward manner. But if you know what they should have done is if there were like he's a complete reverse because he's a multiversal of that, you know, multiversal version of Superman. They should have done everything in reverse, like literally, like, you know, he flies backwards.
Oh, so like what?
Like,
Tenant. They had to film everything
yeah.
backwards, like backwards
Yeah.
fighting. Damn, that would be logistically crazy. That would be cool though. That would look interesting.
That would be so cool. Like literally, he fights backwards and Superman fights forwards. It'll be genius level, man.
Your feet first. Hilarious.
Exactly.
With his cloak over his head.
Exactly. It'll be brilliant, man. But yeah, I mean, they're obviously teasing some kind of thing of Bizarro World. But the thing is, does this show have the budget to show Superman going to Bizarro World? Because I don't know how they're going to show it, man.
Not anymore. I used to think they did because they seem to be doing good with the budget, you know, last season and the beginning of this one. But yes, like it suddenly run out. It's crazy.
I think some of the things were pretty cool. Like, you know, he's basically had the freeze. Beams from the eyes and fire from the mouth and stuff like that, which is like, oh, I'm your opposite. But then it's like, so what? Superman's got really good skin, and you got this like Sharpie skin because you're his opposite or something. I don't know. Like, you know, should you be like? I mean, like, yeah, shouldn't it be like, you know, I don't know what's, you know. Maybe he should have been a different ethnicity then if he's the opposite of
maybe
Superman, you know what I mean? Like, rather than, but I don't know, man. It's just like there's only so far you can go into this show without actually, you know, just it going a little bit crazy. So, what do you think of this cult thing? Do you think they're barking up the wrong tree of going forward in that? Or?
I didn't care about it initially, but now that it is connected to Bizarro, then I'm kind of curious to see how it all kind of connects and what her point was bringing him across, whether he was supposed to be a champion or something. Because they also said that on the other side, she's kind of like taken over. So what? Maybe she has a closer connection psychically with that other version. So they're kind of running the whole thing as this one sort of hive mind. Her on this side and that side. Like, I'm curious how that kind of unfolds. But
yeah, or whether she. Yeah, exactly. I think it kind of seemed like basically, if you destroy her, then you also destroy her in the other universe, which basically means then Bizarro's universe is now free from whatever.
Unless it's like the one. You ever see that Jet Li?
Yeah,
we have to go to the original multiverse movie.
Original multiverse, starring Jet Li like a million times. You know what I mean? It's just like we're gonna get our money out of this.
So ahead of its time. You know? So ahead of its time. Damn.
So ahead. Yeah. So ahead. So yeah, I think they're gonna end up with something like that, but it's gonna end up being like she's actually the good person or so, I don't know, some bizarre mission like that. What I didn't understand was why the reporter basically like kind of went to the bizarre world in her mind, right? And now suddenly is like awakened with what? I don't get it. Why?
Yeah, you've ascended. That was the words they used. How? Sure, you can see somewhere else, but that's only when you've got that thing on. Like, what?
Yeah,
it doesn't,
like the opposite of yourself. Like literally, like I don't know. If I saw the opposite of myself, I'd be like, dude, like, why would I want to see that? Like literally, like somebody who's literally like all the things that you're crap at, they're amazing at, and all the things that you're great at, they're crap at.
Yeah. Or in my case, their life is in order and, you know, living it up. You know, why would I want to see that? Just remind me of...
He goes, oh, you know what would he be called? Yeah, it'd be Eddie backwards, but basically he'd be like, oh, you know, I moved house in like 1 week or something, or like 1 day or something like that. And it'd be like, what? It'd be literally be no, he would have moved house like 20 times, like, you know, whatever.
In the time, the time it takes me to freaking move. 6 months. Insane.
So we still got some DC, man. Unfortunately, we still got.
I'm gonna add even more DC to it because, as requested by some of our listeners, I actually started back on Harley Quinn. I went
Oh, okay, okay.
right back to the beginning. I'm in season 2 now, but I haven't finished it yet. But yeah, just figured let me just start again, refresh it all in my mind. And yeah, I'm very mixed about it because it is good, and most of the time, I think 70 to 80% of the time, I'm enjoying it. But the rest of the time, I get kicked out because it woke isn't the word. The thing mainly that annoys me is that when it has this repeated theme of all men are useless and they're just ridiculous, just pointless. They can't do anything right, and and I'm enjoying it most of the time, but then they jump into that repeatedly again. It's like, oh come on, man, makes me roll my eyes and it just takes me out of it. But
Yeah,
it is good for the most part, still.
I think Mo said like this is a program you watch with other people, right? You go and watch it with like a group
It
of mates, kind of thing, and that kind of makes it better.
it that
Like,
makes the humor better, but I can still appreciate it on my own. But it's just those other little messages that are even there that I even noticed the first time I saw it. That's like, yeah, come on, man, what's all this? Come on, it's just low. That's lazy writing. But it
it's
is.
weird because like Doom Patrol is kind of the same way, but it doesn't jar me when I haven't actually watched the rest of Harley Quinn. I totally totally forgot to basically go and check it out. But Doom Patrol's kind of the same way. Like it's not preachy, but it's kind of like they tackle certain subjects, but
Yeah.
it's not jarring. It's kind of just like, oh, this is what's going on. This is our viewpoint on it. So I'd be interested to see Harley Quinn and
It
see
is
what
worth
the
watching. Like I
difference
said,
is.
most of the
Um,
90%, 8% of the time, I'm liking it, and it is tonally in the humor. I see it more now, going back to it, that it is after watching Peacemaker. It's actually good to go back to that because it does tonally have a similar vibe, and I don't think that's completely by accident. I think especially with Kite Man popping up in reference
yeah,
in Peacemaker, I think definitely Gunn was watching this and thought, yeah, this is the sort of shows I want to make in live action because
that
it has that
is
energy to it. So yeah.
yeah, yeah. So thumbs up, thumbs down, middle
Overall,
kind of
thumbs
thing.
up. Yeah, yeah. I'll still say
Okay.
thumbs up for it. It's still a decent show.
Okay, cool. So we've heard some more information about the Penguin, basically like from Colin Farrell, because he's obviously getting asked a lot about it. Confirming the TV show of the Penguin that's coming out, confirming that it's actually going to be rated R as well, which is an 18 in the UK, basically.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see what that is
Screw the
like on
kids.
HBO Max. And also why he doesn't have his iconic cigarette
Yeah, the
like the
cigar.
Penguin does.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So yeah, the Penguin, loads of different iterations, but one of the most common ones is either with a pipe or with like a kind of like a long handle that basically holds a cigarette in
Yeah,
it,
little
but
stick.
basically at the end. And he was told by Warner Brothers that you can't basically have that because any form of cigar or anything like that, because it would basically encourage 12-year-olds to smoke.
This is something I've heard a lot about in Hollywood. That yeah, that's why smoking has pretty much almost disappeared completely from movies. But why is it then that not in every movie, but a good couple of the X-Men movies, they still had Wolverine smoking a cigar. They still were able to get that in there. So why could Fox at the time do it? But it probably won't ever happen now with that it's Disney. But back when Fox
Yeah,
was doing it, they got away with it, but Warner can't. It's weird.
I guess. Well, that's the thing, that's the character, right? And I also
Yeah.
kind of think to myself, the Penguin, who's going to look at the Penguin and be like, oh yeah,
I want to
I
be like
really
him.
want to have a smoke now.
Crazy.
Because of bloody 60-year-old man is
And it's
doing it.
PG-13 as well. It's not like it's U or PG. Like it's
Yeah, and
come
it's
on.
15 over here. It's a 15, right? So you're basically saying to 15-year-old kids, oh, I mean, have you ever in your entire life seen a 60-year-old dude doing something and being like, shit, that looks cool, man, I want to copy
No.
that? Like, ever in your life, I've never ever could think of a
Let's
single time.
with Michael Douglas in Basic Instinct. Apart from that, no.
Was he 60? Was he 60?
Probably not,
Oh,
but
he
he
can't
almost looked
be.
it.
He looked it. Yeah, he looked it. But yeah, he was. I
But
think he was
not
meant to
because
be
he was
about
smoky,
40.
just because he was getting down with Sharon Stone. But yeah, beyond that.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that's those kind of things were never seen by anybody in those days, man. So yeah, I mean, it's just very, very weird that they're saying that kind of thing, even though it's like, okay, you do know that the actual hero in this is basically beating the living crap out of people, right? And it's like, wouldn't a 12-year-old want to copy the hero rather than copying one of the old man villains?
And we know
Like,
from the litany of injuries and deaths that happened back in the late 90s of kids copying wrestling moves like tombstones on their younger siblings, that they tend to copy stuff like that. So that should be more of a focus than a cigar, a cigarette. Come on.
Yeah, I remember back in the back in the days when they had this thing where basically they were looking for this like 7-year-old and her brother because they tried to go into the manhole to try and find the turtle, right? Right. And it's like they're much more likely to do stuff like that than be like, oh well, let me copy the penguin or whatever. It's much more likely to kind of go and do those kind of things. But I still hope one day that we're gonna have that thing occurring where it's like the toxic waste basically goes and hits Daredevil as the kid, Murdoch, and then basically goes down into the sewer and then mutates these turtles there as well. Like,
wow.
Because that was the thing, like, when they did like the crossovers, that basically became canon, that it was like the toxic waste that made Matt Murdock go blind was the same thing that changed.
I like that. From that same car accident. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it basically means that you can end up getting Daredevil versus the Shredder and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because just be I mean, how would Kingpin react with Krang and Shredder trying to take over his territory and stuff like that with the Foot Clan and stuff? So yeah, these are dreams that may or may not ever happen in the world, man. But one dream that has actually happened, but nobody really asked for, is Batgirl, and the iteration of Batgirl that they're using, which seems to be like associated with Keaton, which is just weird because, okay, Keaton's cool, man. I love Keaton, but I loved Keaton in the '89 Batman, but he's 70 years old. he's 70 years old and he's posting pictures of him in the bat suit. It's like, dude, come on now. 70-year-old man, like these trained thugs are just gonna batter you, man. Seriously, like
maybe that's why Batgirl is needed. Like maybe he gets his ass kicked in the opening scene.
In the opening scene,
and the rest of the movie is in a hospital bed.
That's gonna be at the same level of the destruction they did to Luke Skywalker. If I see that, right, that is literally gonna be like the same that Star Wars fans felt when they destroyed the legacy of Luke Skywalker. It's gonna be like, oh yeah, this old man just gets battered in the first 2 minutes. Oh my days, that would just be horrendous. So I think did I send you the photo of the news? Yeah, I did send you the photo of the newspaper, and it says Lex Luthor jailed in Belle Reve prison. So all the people kind of like, Lex Luthor's in the universe, whatever, blah blah. And it's like comic book fans are looking at this like it's Lex Luther. So what the hell is going on?
It's supposed to be OR, isn't it?
But
but is this from Batgirl?
Yeah.
So we don't really know what. Actually, we know that this is from a different universe because they've already got the other Batman, but we don't know what the state the universe is in at the end of this flashpoint. Do they merge into one, or do they stay separate at the end of it all? So is this going to be?
Yeah, I would say unfortunately for Snyder fans, this pretty much shows that universe is finished
Yeah.
when after the Flashpoint, because they've got Lex Luthor with the OR, and they're probably thinking, right, let's find a way to change it so it's still got Lex Luthor, but not
Luthor.
Jesse, not Jesse.
I'm not mad about
Right?
that, to be
So
honest, because I did not like Jesse as Luthor. Lex, it just didn't work for me, man.
this is the thing, man. I have so many people who are like, you know, huge Snyder fans, and a lot of the stuff you can say about Snyder, yeah, he took this from this panel and he took this from this panel, and that's fine, right? But when people start trying to justify Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor based on Alexander Luthor from the comic books taking like 1 or 2 panels, it's like, no, you obviously have not read that book that comes from, because the character of Alexander Luthor is very, very different than Lex Luthor in, you know, in this in this film, basically, right? So I actually like just quickly, I basically I never really read Superman comic books, but I actually started reading Superman Earth 1 because it's part of this collection behind me with, you know, one with the little planets that you can see behind my head
Top
there,
shelf,
basically, right? So on the next one along is basically Superman Earth 1. I've never read it before, right? But the volume 1 is basically like the writers at DC saying to Zach, this is what you should have done in Man of Steel.
Oh, so
right?
retelling that kind of version of it, but
it
better.
retells it, right? So basically what it is it's got Superman as Clark Kent. And what happens is that because he comes from another planet, he's like ridiculously intelligent, right? He's like, he could do any job he wants. So he at high school, he's like the best football player ever. Like, he basically just destroys everybody. And there's all scouts around and stuff like that, and they're like, you know, you need to come to our university, we'll just push you straight to the NFL, stuff like that. And he's not really interested. He's like, oh, sod it, you know, I can't really be bothered. Then he goes for an interview at this other place, and basically they're like, oh, you know, we don't really have like people coming for interviews and stuff. We usually kind of like, you know, we get PhD students and they come in as interns. And he's like, okay, you know, I'd just like to maybe get a job at like minimum wage or something. And there's he asks the guy who's basically interviewing him, what are those 2 scientists doing over there in that room? And he goes, oh, they're trying to figure out like anti-gravity or something, but they can't figure out this last equation. And he's like, okay, could you mind if I just go in there or whatever? And he's like, oh, you can't go in this room. And then he goes in there and he solves the equation in like 2 seconds, basically, right? And the scientists are like crazy excited because they're like, oh my God, we just figured out anti-gravity, right? So he gets offered the job, and then he's like, oh, I don't know if I can be bothered to like go down that route. And then eventually he ends up at the Daily Planet, where he finds that he can kind of use it as like a cover of, because his whole mission is that he wants to be human, right? And his parents, as opposed to in Man of Steel, when they say to him, don't reveal yourself, don't, you know, show yourself to the world or anything like that, they keep saying to him like, look, you've got these special gifts, right? And the thing is like, you should be using these gifts to help people, right? And whatever route you decide to go down, then, you know, you should use it, and you should use it for good. And his mum basically, strand by strand, takes the cloth from his you know, that came in his spaceship, and then rehashes it into his suit, basically, right? To say like, you know, one day you can become this person. And the whole thing is opposite to Man of Steel, because it's him being like, I just want to be an ordinary person, I don't want to do anything, blah blah blah. And his dad is saying to him like, look, you're extraordinary, you can do whatever you want, just basically go and help people and stuff. And then we end up finding that the reason why Krypton exploded back in the day is because there are 2 planets in the Kryptonian system, and they're always warring against each other. And basically the planet that is warring against Krypton, they do a terrorist attack on Krypton and basically bury these things into the core. And like 50 years later, Krypton explodes. And the whole mission of them is now to hunt down any Kryptonian and kill them. So they are the ones who end up coming, as opposed to Zod. So they end up coming to Earth and trying to find Superman, but Superman is basically he's just a guy just drifting around doing nothing at the time. And then he decides, right, I've got to go and help people. So he puts on the suit and he goes and helps people and stuff. And then he becomes kind of, Clark Kent, the reporter after that.
I like that. I like, especially with the planet stuff. I've never loved the depictions of Superman where he is like the smartest man in the world, sort of the depiction, because that takes away from other characters. It takes away from like Batman and who else that are the scientists and detectives and all of that in the world, because Superman's got enough gifts. He doesn't need to be the smartest as well on top of everything, as well as being the strongest. But beyond that, the other stuff with the two planets and all of that, and just and the encouragement from the Kents, that would have been cool.
And I think that's the thing. Like, do you know who wrote it as well? Is J. Michael Straczynski, who's the guy who made Babylon 5.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a really interesting comic book, man. They've literally just like gone.
What was this other planet called? What were they?
I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, they're basically just like they're kind of like the opposite of Krypton, right? And what happens is that they basically are constantly at war, so they're like sabotaging their spacefaring ability, so they can't actually go to fight each other. Only every 20 years, when the planets are close together in the orbit around their sun, they have enough ability to go and fight against each other. So then every 20 years they have a war, just like perpetual war going on and on and on and on. And then eventually, like, what this other planet says is they were visited by an alien who said, like, use this technology to destroy Krypton. And it never really says who that alien was, but I assume that's probably Brainiac, who is just like, this is the way to destroy it. And then they end up going to hunt down Kryptonians. And that whole thing about, when Zod appears on all the Nokias in the world, right?
And the RSS feeds.
He turns up on all those things. On this, instead, it's these aliens, right? And they say, like, you're hiding this guy. You need to, basically, like, you need to reveal who this person is, otherwise we're going to go and destroy your planet and stuff like that. And it's literally like Man of Steel, but instead you can tell, like, they were kind of sitting there being like, we don't like the fact that Jonathan and Martha were always saying to him, don't be a hero, right? And they just were like, right, we're going to flip that round and make them say to him, be the hero all the time. And he's like, I don't want to be it. I just want to be an ordinary kid. You know what I mean? So yeah,
does Earth's sun affect them the same way as Kryptonians? Do they have powers when they come here?
Yeah. So they're basically like more, basically more powerful and stuff, but still Superman he kicks their ass basically, you know what I mean? Because he's born under the yellow sun and stuff. So yeah, I mean, Ray lived his whole life on the yellow sun and stuff. So yeah, they're the same powers, but it's like a massive invasion. Yeah, check it out, man. Check it out. It's a good one, but it's one of those things, like I've never read it, and I've always seen this thing, like people being like, oh, Zach took from this comic book and Zach took from that, and I've never seen anybody say, like, this comic book is basically just retelling Man of Steel, but also in a way that is like, we didn't like your portrayal of Man of Steel, so we're changing key elements in it and stuff like that there, basically. So we're going to be going to some Marvel news there now, because almost all DC throughout the entire thing, but there's so we've had quite a lot of kind of comments from Taron Egerton, who is he's a British actor who's played quite a few roles and stuff, but basically he's
Kingsman.
In Kingsman, Kingsman. I think he's in that Elton John thing as well.
Rocket Man.
And he keeps getting asked about Wolverine, and now he's kind of giving very coy answers about it. Like, oh yeah, it would be cool. But before he's kind of just like not really saying anything about it. Now he's kind of like, yeah, it would be cool if if I was doing it and stuff.
I can't see it. I can't see it. This doesn't.
Do you think it? Do you think the new Wolverine needs to be a short, just angry beast kind of guy, or they need to still go with the Hugh Jackman template?
Just find the middle ground. Just make him regular size. He ain't gonna be super tall, like, because Hugh Jackman's like what, almost 6'4" or something. He's 6'5", like he's crazy tall. Yeah, ain't gonna be that tall, but yeah, I think it may jar people that only really know Wolverine from the films to have him as a 5 foot, I don't know, 2 barrel, hairy barrel man. Because even Egerton isn't even that though. He's pretty skinny. He's slight. He's not barrel shaped or anything. So he's not, even though he is short, he's not gonna still embody that aspect of Wolverine. So I don't know. And he's too young as well.
Yeah, you need to have somebody literally with short man syndrome who's like just short and just built like an absolute.
They shouldn't go no shorter than Hardy, Tom Hardy. I think he's the shortest that character should be on screen, and he's kind of got the gruffness as well. I'm not saying necessarily Hardy should be Wolverine, but he has that energy as well, that manly.
Yeah. I think I think you're right, because if they make it too small, if they do kind of start to bring in those Jean Grey elements and stuff like that, then it's going to be like you know, where you've basically got Scott, who's just like this, you know, jock basically, and then you got this short old man basically. Especially the fact that they're given rumors that that, you know, the Jean Grey who was in the X-Men movies potentially going to be in, you know, in Doctor Strange, but and not the what's her name? Famke Janssen?
Yeah,
the original one, I think. Not her.
Well, it makes sense to go for the younger one. Come on.
But then that's the thing, and then you can't have like a really old Wolverine, because it's going to be like this old dude, like basically chasing after a young Jean Grey, who's like, you know.
That's why it's Taron Egerton, isn't it? But he's too young still, though. I just can't visualize it in costume, the hair. It just don't work. No.
He's meant to be 100 odd years old as well. It's like, you know, he's born in the 1870s or whatever. So it's like, you know, he's literally meant to be like 140, 50 years old. So yeah. Would you be interested in a Wolverine film with a retelling of history kind of Wolverine? So, you know, they tease some of that in the X-Men Origins Wolverine, which is a terrible film. Terrible film, but with the worst CGI like ever in history. CGI. But some of the stuff was kind of interesting, where it's like he's fighting in the Second World War. And
if they told it like the first Highlander movie, because that plays out that way, where they jump, like the bulk of the stories in contemporary time, which was, I don't know, was it 80s when that movie came out, but then it keeps jumping to different periods in history, just to kind of retell, you know, his crossing paths with other Highlanders. If they kind of did that with Wolverine, where it would jump to like Civil War and all of this other stuff and other wars in Vietnam and all that would be cool. That would be. But I don't know if they really need to focus squarely on Wolverine again, though, man. Just do the X-Men. Because I don't want them to get into that. They got into a bad habit where they rely too much on the Wolverine character, the way that they did later on with the Mystique character. But it shouldn't really be about them. It's about the unit as a whole.
Yeah. So if it was a choice, Tom Hardy or Egerton, you'd be going Tom Hardy, right? I guess if they decided.
If those were the only two options, I would go Hardy, but I'm not necessarily saying Hardy is, because maybe for the longevity of the character, they might want to go down by about 10 years from him, but he still bodies more of it than Egerton. But, you know, who knows? Marvel have been pretty good with their casting. Maybe they see something that I don't, that does surprise everyone, and, you know, he pulls it off.
Yeah, Daniel Radcliffe is the guy they need still, man. Like, everybody's like, Radcliffe. There's so many.
Have you seen him as
Radcliffe?
Have you seen him as a Weird Al Yankovic?
No,
because he's doing a biopic in it as Weird Al. So he's got the hair and the crazy shirts. Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh my. How's this gonna turn out?
I think it's he's a good actor though. I'll give him that. He is a very good actor. But yeah, just I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether that would be the thing. Man.
And they got to have the gruffness in their voice as well. That's the problem with Radcliffe. Hasn't got that. He's got a very high pitched voice that's like this.
Yeah.
You gotta kind of have that, bub.
Yeah, but then don't they need to just like gargle with Listerine and like smoke
Yeah,
like
6 months
like a
leading up to it.
yeah, exactly. And then yeah, then you'll have that voice, man. But I'll let you guys obviously talk about this in talking the movies, but you heard about what Charlize Theron been saying about Tom Hardy.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
so I don't know whether he's going to be flavor of the month in in different places and stuff like that. So
It
we'll see.
doesn't seem he actually did anything. It wasn't like he physically threatened her. She felt intimidated by him. That was it. He didn't
But
physically
that's the
do
thing.
anything.
Some people say nowadays a feeling is just as
Enough to
important
end someone's career.
as a fact.
Have an
Right?
argument. Jeez. To be fair, they were both in the desert for God knows how long. Didn't that film get like changed location from like South Africa to Australia because the storms destroyed one city? Like it sounded like a miserable movie to make.
It probably was pretty damn
In
miserable,
sitting
man.
in trucks for hours on end. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And basically as bleak as the
Yeah.
the actual living in that place was, man. So yeah. So guys, bit of a short news week this week, but we will be having obviously bumper stuff coming next week there with the Batman and Moon Knight there as well.
Oh, yeah.
So we're gonna have a lot of stuff to be watching next week to be talking about, man. So guys, if you want to get in contact with us, you can email us on dcvsmarvelpod@gmail.com. You could also go to the Facebook page, which is DCVS Marvel Podcast, and also go to the YouTube page, which I have actually started sharing again because I keep forgetting basically to put it on. So I started sharing again on the Facebook page. So that's Voltron Network, and you can find all of our stuff on there if you want to see the video versions of this podcast there as well. If you haven't had enough of listening to us there, well, you probably had enough of listening to me, but if you want to listen to Ed more this week, then you can also hear him on
for whatever reason you can check out Talking Out the Movies on all podcasting platforms.
Where have you seen that movie yet that I was talking about last week? What's it called with Iko Uwais and all
I
that.
won't go back. I told you, I saw 5 minutes and I was like, I can't. Well, maybe 10.
No.
Like, I can't do any more of this. I can't do it.
To, man.
It's
you
horrible.
need to give the fans a review of that horrendous film, man.
So painful.
But anyway, guys, if you want to check out the cool reviews, check that out there, and we'll see you again next time, which next week can't come quickly enough. So, but yeah, we'll see you again next time.
Worst day with the world being bad in. See you later, guys.
See you later.